goal is to bring you your next favorite band.
Sweet, that intro is my new favorite band. That's phenomenal. I'm so excited to be on.
Yeah. I heard a rumor that you might be able to play that song live today.
You heard correctly. Yes.
Excellent. So,
good enough for rapping.
I don't know when I rock out here on your next favorite band show.
and listen, it's going to be everybody's favorite band.
Phil, you weren't supposed to make me get all... God almighty,
But this
Phil.
is why we do it.
Like, seriously. I gotta gather myself. All right, go ahead.
Okay.
Welcome to your next favorite band. That's both the show title and our promise to you. We here at Stereophilia Studio are tireless in our pursuit of finding incredible, genre-defiant artists who are either a hot up-and-coming band or a group that has been delivering for years but have flown under the radar.
Day 8 of our Musikfest daily live streams brought to you by Godfrey Daniels. Today our guests are Kassie Hilgert, Dan Drago, and Mike and Shannon Mains.
Each month, we will bring you live streams, audio podcasts, and perhaps even a live concert where you can listen to the stories and hear the music of artists personally curated by us based on what we feel will be worthy of your time. Be sure to subscribe and tune in to each episode because the possibilities are endless and you never know who will be your next favorite band.
Hello everybody, welcome to the show. I am your host, Philip Reese, and I am joined by two guest co-hosts,
Kassie Hilgert?
Dan Drago.
and you are listening to...
Your
next favorite band.
Nice! I love it.
I did it. I never do it right.
But see, the thing is, just for my own enjoyment, I don't tell anybody what to...
Clearly.
Right. And I'm always excited for what might come out of that person's mouth. Listening to dead air because I'm not going to say something. That's my little enjoyment. The rest of the show is well produced, but that moment is just my little
Just a
fun.
little moment of torture. Thanks
Correct.
for that.
Yeah, you're
Awesome.
welcome. You're welcome.
Appreciate
But anyway, I'm so honored to have. I kept talking about this. Like, this is a Titan show. We have the CEO of ArtsQuest, the longest-running podcast in music Philadelphia. We think.
We're pretty sure.
Yeah.
Again,
That's like his tagline every time he goes. The longest-running music podcast in Philadelphia.
I think.
Is
well,
like
no
just.
one's challenged.
knock you off it.
No one's challenged
Right.
me.
Still to this day. But 10 years running.
It's got to be up there. Yeah.
And then Mike and Shannon Mains, who are, in my opinion, one of the greatest creators of music right now, and was episode 1 for this show.
Oh, wow.
So Mike Mains was episode 1 interview for Your Next Favorite Band. Then came on a second time and basically was the reason why our Listen to the Dissonance mental health episode and live show came out of his openness and bravery and trust to share his internal and external struggles. And then witnessing how that just made such an impact on audience members is where Listen to the Dissonance became a thing, because it was like, let's put these stories on stage if musicians are willing to do it.
That's right.
And it's just been this amazing thing. So to me, Titan episode. What could be better than this?
A lot to live up to.
Yeah.
Dan,
I know.
I mean,
But you start out as guest co-hosts.
yes.
We start with talking more current stuff. What's the weather like, and what's the best bands to go see? So let's update the weather.
It's raining.
It is currently raining. Bobby Martrich says it might stop by 5.
So we were talking this morning with Bobby. We talk to him every day. He said,
Right.
the worst is between 2 and 4 o'clock.
And that's currently where we are.
lingering showers at
Right.
5, but they said at 7 o'clock, from 7 until Sunday when the festival closes,
Gorgeous.
no more rain.
Right. So this will be the last day we talk about weather other than, holy smokes, it's beautiful outside, starting tomorrow.
Correct.
Right. Tonight, we'll have some residuals, but every hour gets better.
This afternoon we'll have residuals. And then every afternoon we'll get better. You're
Yes.
going to have dinner down at Musikfest, and we're going to have a full show,
Ah.
full festival starting at 7 latest. I think, more like 5 o'clock. But
Right.
I've seen True Festers this year, and let me
I
tell you,
wanted
they
to
are a
mention
party
that.
bunch.
Absolutely. So clearly I come down every night.
Yes.
But I'm a lunatic.
Yeah.
I saw plenty of normal
Yes,
people
two of
down
us.
here.
Yes.
That's right. But I was so proud of our community coming out even on the worst of nights. I was under those tents with dozens and dozens of other people. It was not empty by any stretch
By
on
any
any
stretch.
night.
Volunteers, sponsors,
Yep.
law enforcement.
and the festers, they are coming out. Festplatz is full, Zinsenplatz is full.
Yeah.
Last night at Black Eyed Peas, it was pouring, and they just riffed on the rain for 5 minutes, and there was complete joy in the venue.
Yes.
Sometimes there's magic
Totally.
in adversity.
Yep.
And when everyone's experiencing the same.
Yeah. Oh, there was this fun moment. So I was on North Side all night. Hans Williams, who was on Stadplatz.
Yeah.
The stage has a cover that maybe for that first, let's say 12 feet or
Right.
so, and then it's an untented,
Correct.
beautiful space. But like for the most part, it's uncovered. So he plays like maybe 2 or 3 songs, and people were just hanging out in the drizzle, and then it started to come down, and you saw, again, like 50, 60 people rush forward,
this thing,
and
yep.
he was in the middle of a song, and he goes, this is much better, thank
Right?
you.
Right?
I don't even think he knew why. Like, I think he
Right.
just was like, oh, everybody's coming up front, this is nice. And it made for a much better vibe. It was very cool.
There was a guy I ran into on the south side last night. He was just sitting on the ground as it was pouring,
Yep.
legs out,
Yep.
on the phone, heavy British accent. I asked where he was from. He said, Britain. And I said, do you need any help? Because he was just sitting down. He said, no, it's just raining. I'm going to sit down. If I'm going to be wet, I'm just going to sit. And he's
Yeah.
talking to his friend. It's good. It's just raining. It's good.
That's exactly right.
So hardy people,
Yes.
hardy artists,
Yep.
hardy everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think if you're going to plan for it, so like even last night when I knew it was going to be raining, you just wear rain gear and you come
Yes, you go
down. And then tonight it's going to get better over time, so we'll be okay. But the picturesque opportunity Saturday and Sunday, Bobby said it might be the 2 greatest days in years.
Of the entire summer.
Yeah.
So we are ready for this weekend. I think I've heard from so many people on texts and on Facebook,
Yep.
Instagram.
Yep.
They are ready to come down starting tonight through Sunday night, and there's pent up energy. And
There is definitely pent up fest energy.
We can't wait.
It's going to be really crazy.
Yes, it
and
is.
people should want to catch a slice of it. But
can be
tonight's
pouring here.
amazing too. So like the lineup, I will no spoilers, but the lineups the next 2 nights, I can't wait to list
Right.
the 5 that I have picked. But today is great. Like this is a wonderful, wonderful lineup for tonight. So here's the picks for today. The fave of the day for me is Kufnats and Christine Elise.
unbelievable
Hard to
what
argue.
they do.
Yes.
Rap, classical, that is truly spectacular.
Yep. And then also they're Philly based and Jersey. They're kind of like dual city.
Koof is from Philly.
Yeah.
I've known about Koof for a long time.
Yeah.
And only in the recent years, has the project with him and Christine become a thing.
Blossomed, yeah.
But I've seen that a few times up in Philadelphia, and it's
Yeah.
fantastic.
So back in, was it 2008, I think it was? Anyway, the Phillies were doing really well, and they wrote like a hype song heading into the playoffs. He's on it.
Yes.
Right.
Like he's like a Philly
Oh, yeah.
guy.
Oh, yeah.
But so outstanding music. Well, we're gonna lead with some of that. Also Philly-based, Brittany Ann Tranbaugh has
Brittany
played this
Ann.
stage. Went to Charter Arts actually.
Yep.
And then is a outstanding.
How much do you
performer.
love that story?
It's
Charter
amazing.
Arts here, Musikfest, the pipeline, Philadelphia, the pipeline we're building for artists.
Totally.
So many organizations, not just us.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
If you're on Brittany's socials, look a few posts back because she put a bunch of pictures of her from like had to be a teenager all the way
yes.
up to now, and it's just so funny seeing because I've known Brittany for the last few years, and it's been really interesting to just see her playing the guitar, a different. Just
Stages
a different,
of life, absolutely.
a different Brittany back then, but it still looks like her. I love the old school like folk music dresses that she's wearing.
That's so
throughout
true.
The years. Yeah.
So true.
And then
not trying to embarrass you, Brittany, but you did put the photos up.
that's
so.
true. She's got to own that one. Mike and Shannon Mains. So this is really cool. Last night, hopefully you caught the show, full 5-piece rock band. Tonight, just Mike and Shannon acoustic, and you get to hear. They even put these out on their albums, like on their extended bonus versions or whatever. But like they put these acoustic versions out there. They're stunning. They're beautiful, and they're obviously quite different. So that's the type of thing where it's like you want to come down and see this show for sure. And if you didn't see any of their rock stuff, you still want to see this because one of the best songwriters around right now. Mr. No Name, I was so blown away by them last year. I said they're like if 21 Pilots and Slingshot Dakota had a baby. Because it is a duo with drums and keys, but with more of that like kind of 21 Pilots sound. But like I was so in love with it. There was a Musikfest moment where like I was strolling by and stopped and spent an hour because I was just like
It pulled you in.
right. And I was just like, this is so cool that then I asked them to come on our Exordium preview show. So they were one of our 2 musical performers on the preview show because I like their music so much. They're releasing new stuff now. Anyway, we're going to get into their sound in a little bit. And then Divine Sweater, that was someone I'd never heard of before. And they're killing it. Like, they're so good. And they're going to be on the America stage at 7:30. So anyway, we're going to get into some examples of the music, but that's like the quick rundown. We always start with the fave of the day, so let's bring in some Kufnats here. I love starting with this song. So they have this song that they typically open their shows with. So since they're the top of the show here, we're going to open with it here. It's just called Intro Mantra. And just catch this vibe here. Like, it's just, how would you not want to make more of this? It does have a little bit of an intro of who they were performing with that day, which is like a really cool, you might even know it. It's some cool like plant shop in Philly somewhere.
Oh, I know where they're playing.
Yeah.
Without even looking at it. I'll know in a second if I'm right.
Absolutely. So forgive the opening, but it's not too long.
Corner from there.
Yeah, so
Hey,
it's
welcome
good to have
Branches
a
Jungle,
Philly
your local self-service
aficionado.
store. We're happy to host this live session in our upstairs greenhouse. Come check us out if you're ever in the neighborhood.
I guess so. Right. Well, that's why we hoped like we could just shine a light on us. But yeah, here, check out Intro Mantra by Kufnats.
Peace. What's good, y'all? I'm Kufnats.
I'm Christine Elise.
We are here live, Urban Jungle in South Philadelphia.
Yes.
Welcome. Before we jump into our set, we like to take a few moments to relax and ground our energy, as sometimes it's, a long day, long week, whatever it may be. We like to take this time to just relax, chill everything out. Today we plant the seeds for the life we long to live. We build a space of calm and clarity around us.
I feel like when people hear that harp for the first time, they're like, wait, what just happened?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I know I saw a harp, but I didn't expect it to sound that good.
Right.
It's really the look on people's faces, I think, hits that. But it just works so well.
I had such a weird reference the first time I heard them. It reminded me of a group back in the day when I was in college, Me Fi Me. I don't know if you ever heard of them.
I have not.
They had a phenomenal album. I was in love with it for years, but it reminded me a lot of this mashup. It was just unbelievable between rap and other genres you weren't expecting.
Right.
And I just rediscovered them again after listening to this. It's been awesome.
Yeah. I mean, you want to see this show, trust me.
You do.
Yeah. They've been playing all around Philly in this particular group that they have here for years, and have really they've played a lot of shows that aren't just like regular like club shows, come buy tickets. They've done some great stuff for Rock to the Future and their Music for All Ball. I've seen them, I feel like I've seen Kuf and Christine at more like not-for-profit events than I have seen them in like, a Johnny Brenda's, although they do play, Johnny Brenda's and clubs and stuff like that.
Yep.
And that very much works to everything. I don't know them personally, but it speaks to everything I know about them, that they're just very dialed in, community-oriented people.
Yeah, and if you look up Higher Grounds Music, it's their music therapy version of what they do. So what they'll do is, Christine is a certified, licensed music therapist. And so they will get hired by, could be community groups, it could be a self-help kind of like outreach, whatever.
Right.
That in essence, it's basically a version of what they offer, in that how they can try to use music to help people work through anxiety and depression and all that kind of stuff.
That seems to take them everywhere too. I seem to recall not that long ago, could be in the last year, they were up in Alaska, like playing shows
multiple times.
And I was like, wow. So when you told me that, I was like, well, that's probably what brought them up there.
Sure.
But like, if you think about a place like Alaska, you can't get much further away, not just in this country, but like in the world.
Yes. No, absolutely.
And for them to go up there that's a concerted effort to go up there and do that. You have to want to do it.
Right. And so you can see on the screen there, they're playing 5:30 today at Plaza Tropical. Two things. One, I got the time wrong on our post. I apologize. I'm fallible. I had it at the wrong time. But 5:30 is the actual time. Plaza Tropical, don't miss it. They also play tomorrow. So like if you can't get to it today, or just I don't want to take chances on the rain or blah, 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 whatever, tomorrow for that gorgeous day, they play again. So you can always kind of hold out hope that timing works tomorrow, because I do think it is I think it's 7 o'clock tomorrow that they play. but stunning, wonderful, awesome human beings. Like it's just a great offering, and I'm so happy that we have him here. The next one is Brittany Ann Tranbaugh. We talked to her a little bit on the kind of the open. I picked her song called "Quarter Life Crisis Haircut" just because I think it's so clever.
It's a great, it's a great title.
It's just great to start with, and then it's also great music. So check out Brittany Ann Tranbaugh.
2, 3, 4.
It's live in a salon.
Yes, right.
They cut a whole live record in this salon. It's out, you can get it.
Oh, that's great.
Hey, old acquaintance, it's so nice to bump into you on this loud and crowded city street. Well, some 10 odd years and 30 pounds later, I'm surprised you even recognize me. Well, it's so great to hear about your promotion.
So, I mean, this is full band. You get that chance to see that today.
You actually get a chance to see it
both,
like up a notch.
Yeah.
So this is her. This is her live band from when she made this, which is at least a couple of years ago. The band now includes a pedal steel player.
Oh, fun.
Who is smoking.
Nice.
I was lucky enough to see Brittany and the full band play a week or so ago at Johnny Brenda's. It was an amazing show. Everyone was there. Like everyone in the community seemed to come out. A wide range of people too.
Well, Bren opened, didn't she?
Bren opened, and they brought along some friends of theirs. They're called Palmyra, and they were also amazing. It was a really fun night. It was a good community night as much as it was a good night of music.
Sure.
I got to see a lot of people I haven't seen in a long time
so cool.
at that show. But yeah, so see this band right here, and then add just incredible pedal steel.
Like Rippon's pedal,
and mandolin. I'm sorry, and their pedal steel player also plays mandolin.
Oh, nice. Yep. Very cool. So yeah, 2 chances to see her tonight. The full band with this edition is at 5 in Zinzenplatz, tented, so in case it's still a little drizzly, you'll be covered. And then again at 8 p.m. solo in the cinemas, which is called Lyric Plots. I always add the word cinema just in case people not as prevalent or common there. But yeah, definitely solo. She's excellent too. And she has the song. What I would have picked was Bushwick, but it's such a heartbreaking tearjerker song that I'm like, I'm not gonna. That's not. It would take the entire. I don't know. Like I just was like,
you should just see it because she will play it. At least once today.
It's already being re-recorded by other artists. It's that good a song. Like there's other musicians who are like, can I play that too? And she's great. So just amazing stuff by Brittany Ann Tranbaugh.
It's been delightful to watch her come into her own over the last bunch of years in Philadelphia. It's like Brittany is someone that all of us root for, and is someone who would root for any one of 100%. Us. Yep. So it's again talking about that one particular night of seeing her at Johnny Brenda's. It was like it was both, I said, an amazing night of music, but also just an amazing community night. And again,
I agree with that. Yeah,
she's been doing it for so long. It's wonderful to see it become something.
Yeah, I just realized we've got this microphone way in front of you.
It's all right. I can go back here.
Let's make
we can
there. Let's do that. We can
do this.
I don't want to block your aura. Mike and Shannon Mains, I'm going to hold the song back for the transition since they're coming on the show. Just so you know, quick, 6:30 on the Main Street. Like we said, that's going to be acoustic, and that's one of the examples I have to play. But we're going to jump to Mr. No Name. Oh, actually, this is... I want to put in ArtsQuest suggestion box.
Okay.
So if you see here again, they're on the Main Street stage.
Yep.
Can we plots this up? Can we put out like a renaming, a rebranding? It's just Main Street stage. It seems kind of boring. Like, let's just come like you did with Zinzenplatz. You kind of put it to the community for a naming thing.
That's a very fair point.
Like, it's just called Main Street stage. Some people even get confused when you're like, where are they playing? Main Street. Okay, but where? And it's like, no, Main Street.
Because you've got Hotel Bethlehem Plots down at the end.
And they know Main Street's the street. So there's like a confusing thing there.
Fairly astute.
Right. And then I would also like to plots this word salad up. It's like the Highmark Blue Shield Community Town Center state. I mean, it's just call it Quest Plots at this point.
Oh, those are our sponsors and our partners, Phil. That's what keeps.
Well, you can still call it Highmark Blue Shield Quest Plots. Like I'm just saying, it still can be
Quest Plots.
Because you have
for sure.
You have the sponsors in front of Zinzenplatz. You have the sponsors in front of Stadplatz.
Quinzos.
But it's just like I'm not trying to piss off sponsors. I more mean I love the Plots branding.
Of course, and I totally get that.
Yeah.
If anyone has ideas, so we get ideas from staff, volunteers,
Yeah.
community members, info@artsquest.org. And we
I'm gonna
put
type it in
together
right now.
a spreadsheet every year. I know you will. Our staff will give us 60 ideas, 60
Right.
to 100 ideas,
Yeah, yeah.
and we go through every single one of them after Musikfest. Whatever we get from the public, we go through every
Right.
single one of them.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great idea for Main Street, because we love to get the public involved with renaming things.
I thought that was so fun with even Stadplatz.
Zinsenplatz.
Zinsenplatz, Stadplatz also
Yep.
is the same thing where you were like, give us suggestions.
Yes.
And then we get a good name for it. You still put a sponsor in front of it.
Oh, true.
But
Oh,
it
sure.
still has the Platz branding.
And you know the incentive behind Zinsenplatz, right?
Yes, I love that
So
story.
Benigna,
Yeah.
so getting women out in the industry,
Right.
and I think when you look back on the main stage or the free stages this year, we're going to call this the year of the woman.
Yes.
Because there
yes,
have been so many female-led or female-involved
Yeah.
bands.
Even my guests on the show have
Correct.
been, I think, predominantly female. I think
And
it's great.
It's very conscientious, and we've heard from the community and the public, and even our music arts committee, which is staff and volunteers that pick that.
Yep.
It's been great to rename that. So I love your idea for Main Street, and next year you may be looking at a different name.
Nice. Suggestion input. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend sponsors. I just more meant like it's the longest named stage ever, and nowhere does it say Platz or anything.
They're all doing all right, and you said all their names, which is all they ever
That's
want.
true.
So,
And like I said,
Mark.
they
You
can
said
stay.
AirPods.
Like, it's the PNC Stadplatz. But if someone
Correct.
says, where are you headed? You just say Stadplatz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I just think Main Street
I like
is
that.
asking for that.
We can keep Highmark and just make it a Platz instead of a community station.
Sure. And again,
For
if
those 11 days.
it's so close to the ArtsQuest building, my suggestion, which again, don't go with this, but I was just saying Questplatz.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
That's fine.
Okay.
But I like the idea better to put it out to the community anyway. I'll
That's
submit
what I
it,
love,
and then it'll
right.
get shot down.
Yes.
I think it was already shut
Well,
down.
welcome to my
Right,
job.
That's totally fine. Well, Stadplatz, I had put in Burgermeisterplatz.
I saw that.
like that.
I kind of love Burgermeister
Because it was
Burgerplatz.
also, that's what a mayor was.
That's what a mayor's called.
Right,
In
and it's right
Germany
next to
is
the mayor.
Burgermeister.
I was like, this is perfect.
Yeah, when I went over to
And then think
Germany,
about that,
I
you
was
get
like,
burger on heaven on a bun or whatever
Right?
up there, and
Burgermeister
they're all
Platz.
about it.
That
It just writes itself, right?
That's exactly
it
right.
does.
I can't imagine, Cassie, what the post-mortem is for this festival. Like it's what we call it in the biz after a fest is over. You get your
That could probably
organizers
be
together.
on a Netflix miniseries.
Yeah,
It could
I
be.
can't imagine what the post-mortem is every year, because every year you learn different things, and
Mm-hmm.
every
do.
year you're at different challenges, and things maybe you thought you had,
Right.
you didn't, and things that maybe you thought were going to be hard, you ended up excelling at.
Correct.
Just as someone in myself who's gotten involved in the production side over the years, it's just to
You don't
do
know
some-
what's coming, and-
well,
and
and to
what's
do
gonna-
something at this scope with
Yep.
this many moving parts,
Right.
for this extended period of time.
Right.
Basically, you're all asking for it, and I'm just amazed you all do it year to year.
We call the Monday after Musikfest the Musikfest depression, believe it or not.
Sure.
Oh no, there's going to be some
it's-
postpartum, absolutely.
Well, like, we're sad that we're not doing it. Like, all of a sudden you fall
Yeah.
off this energy cliff.
Yep.
So you're running, you love it, and then Monday is like,
Oh, what do we do now?
right, what do we do now? But you're right, the postmortem we should absolutely record, because it's pretty funny.
It is. I would imagine so. And we actually have like prior guests, friends of the show, whatever. Richard Liu, who's a board member.
Oh, love Richard, yep.
And Megan Laverty
Yes.
was on the show yesterday, a manager of other musicians, making some suggestions. Main Street Plots. I don't think that's gonna make the
All
list.
right, we gotta bump up the creativity
Yeah,
there.
we're gonna keep
Yeah.
workshopping
Main
that
Street
one,
Plots is
and
sort
then
of
just
the underhanded
sponsor
pitch,
plots.
yeah.
Like,
Sponsor plots.
I think that's
Just cut to the chase.
Yep, just
Sponsor plots.
Right.
Your ad here plots.
Yeah,
anyway.
love that.
Let's get to the music, Phil. So,
Commercial
Mr. No Name, we talked about it
No.
before.
No.
This is a little more of like, so live, they definitely sound like 21 Pilots and Slingshot Dakota married together. But this is like their produced stuff sounds amazing. So this is my favorite song by them. It's called Alive by Mr. No Name.
You ever feel something behind you? Turn around and it's gone. I think that it feeds on emotion, and it wrote this song. I cannot explain what I do not know, but I think it's alive, I think it's alive, oh. I know it's alive, I know it's alive, oh. I know it's alive.
There's something about this kind of music where you just know somebody just completely just sat and designed a song and crushed it.
Yes.
And then there's other, like the catalog's great. Like it's just like one of these things where it's just like, where did this come from? It's out of nowhere. And I think this is also, again, classic Musikfest, where it's like, where else would I ever have had the exposure to something like this? Which then again turns into a duo, drum set and dude on keyboards, or ukulele, he also does that. And it's just like, it's an absolute spectacle, and I can't wait to see them play live again.
Spectacle is the word.
Yeah.
I think that is what a successful performing Musikfest does, is phenomenal music.
Yep.
We all assume that if you're playing a free stage, when you add the performer side of this, the spectacle side, that becomes the memory.
Yep.
Oh yeah, it's not enough. I'll say this to young artists sometimes when I talk to them. I said, it's not enough just to write good songs and to perform them well. I know lots of people who play instruments very, very well. It's like, how do you make it fun? How do you make a show? Like you are in the show business, the performing business, as much as you are in the music making.
There's a difference between an artist and a performer.
Yeah, absolutely.
And performers have longevity.
Yeah. Some people can be both. You get those rare breeds that excel at both, and those are the people that you always want to watch out for.
Totally.
In a good way.
So 2 chances to see Mr. No Name, same stage. I love that you do this. It was a brilliant design. So this stage that has too long a name, it's the smaller stage across the lawn from the Levitt Pavilion.
It's the Highmark Community Stage at the Air Products Town Square. That's what it is.
Fair enough. At Highmark
Community Stage.
Well,
at
even
Air
it's
Products Town Square.
Highmark Blue Shield Community
Stage at Air
Town
Products
Center.
Town Square.
See, that's a lot. Word salad.
It
But
just rolled off my tongue.
all right, I will work on it. I'll be much better next year. But the brilliant part was basically having that be the same performer for the turnover on the large stage is usually 30 minutes. So rather than being at dead air, you put the same artist on the smaller stage so that they can just draw that crowd over there, perform for 30, go back to the other stage, come back, perform for another 30, go back to the other stage. It's such
interesting.
So that then this
There's
stage
no
has
dead
no
air.
turnover.
Correct.
And it's super cool.
Well, it's really great you guys thought about that too, because that is always a thing that you think about in these large festivals, multi-stage festivals. What do you do? Because some people just camp in front of one venue, and they're just like, okay, I just want to see what's going to keep happening. So you have to do something nearby so that they don't leave.
And especially on the south side. So the biggest challenge our programming team has at the south side is to coordinate programming with the Wind Creek Steel Stage because it's so large.
Yes.
And we
There's
don't
a lot of
know who
production
those
right
artists
there,
are sometimes until the last show may be booked in May. So how are you programming everything on the south side? Because what you can't do is have a Metallica band playing when there's a comedian on the main stage. So you have to be very careful. Who is going where.
But I will say this too, and it's worth mentioning, is you have beautifully sound engineered everything. Yes. Like there's a lot of thought that went into that. Like we need to pivot this stage to point that way so that it doesn't compete with this one, and that's on north side and south side.
I'm amazed walking from plots to
you
plots.
don't
and all of a sudden you hit this dead
There's
space.
a bleed over moment where you might hear both, and as soon as you
gone.
take a step this way or that way, you only hear the other one.
Yeah.
It's commendable.
That's our sound engineers.
Yeah. Oh, it's so super cool. So the nice part here is we have one of the America Plots stage performers as our other one. So in essence, these people go on Divine Sweater at 7:30. So you can catch the 7 o'clock Mr. No Name. Divine Sweater will play till 9, and then Mr. No Name will go back on at 9. So you'll be able to kind of put this all together.
You just keep turning around.
Exactly. And so this isn't the most banger song by Divine Sweater, but it's the one that I can't get enough of. And so I hope you enjoy this one. It's called I Knew You Better.
A picture book, a paper letter. Remember when I knew you better? You were my bank, I was your debtor. Remember then I knew you better.
Band is obviously a bunch of characters, which you know that's going to translate on stage.
Yep.
And I just love this song. I just think it's one of these ones where it's like, you know how like when you don't play a show on Netflix, it just starts to cycle through shows,
right?
And it puts at the bottom 3 adjectives. And the one time it just put up slow burn, and I'm like, that's a weird adjective for a show. I think this song is a slow burn. It just takes some time to build, and all of a sudden you're like, wait, this is really hot.
I'm feeling Simple Minds here.
Yeah, totally.
I feel a little Simple Minds.
Yeah.
Well, I like the glockenspiel.
Yep.
Another thing that goes with the word plots. Spiel.
Yeah.
So looking forward to this show.
Yes.
And like I said, to be sandwiched on to be a Mr. No Name sandwich with Divine Sweater.
Yeah.
I'm in.
What a smart bit of programming right there. Have you guys always done that, Kassie, or is it something that's kind of come out over the last several years of like kind of the nonstop programming?
Oh, that's been fairly recent, more consistently throughout the entire festival. We did have some dead times earlier on, and we're learning very much that what we thought during those dead times was people wanted to move, right?
Yeah.
And what happens is you may be moving, and I know I experienced it years ago that I could walk from plots to plots and always hit the dead times.
Yeah.
So we have learned what we call peak-on-peak programming.
Oh, interesting.
So that is just you run everything on top of each other for a concentrated period of time.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that whether it's Reggae Fest, whether it's Music Fest, it's that peak-on-peak programming philosophy that has really been infiltrated throughout all we do from a music standpoint.
And that's something you see a lot more in the big national fests now too. They also do the same thing.
They overlap.
Coachella's been doing that for years.
Yep.
Bonnaroo, things like that. And
Because you thought you wanted them to move from stage to stage.
But you kind of don't.
And you don't.
Because also people don't always follow the same schedule.
Correct.
You might hang out, watch 20 minutes of a band and be like, oh, what's going on over here? Or let's go near where the Corn on the Cob guy is and see who's playing there.
Yep.
And having it going consistently lets the attendee control their what they want to see versus us saying, now go here, go there. So tightening that up lets them have control over their own routine and path around the festival.
Yeah, and also you don't run the risk of someone dropping in. Like you said, it's the same phenomenon of when you change radio stations and you just keep catching commercials every time.
Right.
Yes, it's the worst.
Yeah. Thank you, good night.
Yeah.
Thank you, good night.
Good
You're just like,
And then they all
damn
start
it.
programming again.
This festival sucks.
no, it's really short because people can drop in because it's 99% free. So you want people to just drop in whenever they want.
400 performances or 427 performances, 400 are free.
I don't know how you guys do it.
The Highmark Community Stage on the Times Square. That's how, guys.
I'm not talking about financially. I'm talking about like
Get it right,
spiritually.
No, spiritually, that is at the core of. We love to build a stage from. You talk about the cinemas, 100-person stage, right?
Right.
Up to Wind Creek Steel Stage at 6,500.
Yeah.
We want all the rungs on that ladder for every performer.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can start from the very beginning and grow all the way up to.
Sure.
Whoever you're going to be.
Yeah.
And that gets the team jonesed up when they
Right.
watch an artist grow through those stages.
Yes.
yeah,
And that's
yeah.
also like, stop trying to talk about putting the paid stage, like the headliners in the inside. Like it's a 6,500 capacity setup,
everyone says that.
and the inside handles 1,200 at most.
1,100 standing.
I was going to say like
So
1,200
there's-
would be Fire Marshal City.
Correct.
So like. It's not. Don't
not
stop
possible.
fooling. Like just you sound
Every
like
big
a fool.
festival is outdoors.
Yeah.
Yep.
We all
Right.
deal with this, and we have good
It's
weather
part of-
years. We have bad weather years.
Right.
But
It just is what it is.
I'll tell you what. After COVID, I'm going out in anything
Mm-hmm.
to be around
Yeah.
people.
100%.
again and
Well,
see live
we
music.
learned that at Exponential in Philly last
Right.
year. That could have been a full-on disaster. I've seen other festivals just shut down
Right.
in that challenge. And they made it happen. They had to make some cuts.
Sure.
They had to make some very hard decisions. And bands had to make some very hard decisions. But people showed up. I was
do.
not one of those people. I'm not going to claim that I was. But like, and Phil and I talked about it later. I was like, I don't know, were we lame not to go? And I'm just like, but I am dry right now. So-
Right.
But the people who came out, those are the diehards.
They are.
And those are the people that you have these festivals for. You don't have it for everyone, but you have it for the diehards.
Yeah.
Well, and what's different for us is we don't have a gate.
Yep.
So we don't have a guaranteed revenue source
Sure.
coming into it. But I will say this, so everyone knows that even if a free stage performer gets canceled, they still get paid.
Yep.
Beautiful.
No
I
matter
was
what.
going to ask you that off
yeah.
mic.
Yes, no. They all get paid. We're going to take a huge hit from this, but we've had 3 great years.
Right.
And if you're not adjusting and preparing for these things when you're an outdoor festival,
Yeah.
Why you
What
wouldn't-
I've been
yeah.
saying is like
It is.
just and I say this whether it's ArtsQuest or some other like nonprofit that's giving you a free thing. If you have the means, decide what it's worth to you monetarily and pay that.
Correct.
So I've said to people, I'm like, if Music Fest is worth like a $50 ticket to you, make a $50 donation.
Yeah.
If it's worth more than that, become a sponsoring member. Like, just do that, and
Or
then it comes
so-
with value too.
it
Like,
does. Or support the 60
buy
food
merch.
vendors.
Yeah, or
Go buy
yeah.
$50
Exactly.
of food.
Right.
You're supporting small businesses.
That's exactly right.
And it's all good there.
Right. So that's just what I would say. It's just like don't just like roll through it and be like, oh, this
Right.
is awesome. Like, and again, if it's not something you have the means for, then don't. But like, if you do, and this is worth something to you, then make that donation.
So I had a guy from New York come down last year. We were talking about him for a potential sponsorship, and we're walking around. I'm trying to explain the model that it's free. And of course, this guy's from New York. He's like, "Are you kidding?
Can't be free.
What the hell is this?
Yeah. What are you not telling
What do you mean
me?
free?
Yeah.
You can't breathe for free. in
Right?
New York.
And so I fill up his mug, and it's 8
For
or 10, right? But it's like $10 to fill up, and I'm like, we hear a lot about the $10. Like, it's too effing beers. I'm stealing this right here.
Yeah, it's $10.
This is like happy hour. Are you kidding me?
I like
this
this.
is the greatest thing.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
So it's funny to see the out of town perspective versus the in town. But
yeah.
the in town perspective too, there's an ownership.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
The people that are local, like they help to make this happen, and
Yep.
they're
Yeah.
the ones coming out, the professional festers.
Yes, and I'll tell you this, and so this will be something. So I was talking with Mike and Shannon Mains earlier, and they talked about how Musikfest handles the weather and these other impacts, and how admirable it is. So, like, coming from the perspective of a musician who plays other festivals, you all handle it great. So I wanted to kind of she'll get into more details, but
I
like,
appreciate that.
Yeah, I wanted you to know that, and I want listeners to know
Team
that
is
too. That
adjusting
like,
all day, every
obviously,
day.
it's a very difficult thing, and you're
Sure.
not going to make a perfect decision every time.
No.
But the way that you're all at least approaching it is a way that musicians have an appreciation
We
for.
want them to play, we want them to be seen, we want them to be known,
Yeah.
and we want to give them a platform.
Yep.
And however we can shuffle that around, for us, we've got 12 hours in the day to do that. So
Yep.
it's let's move everyone wherever we can.
Yeah, you want to know something? A fun story. The night, Saturday night. Was it Saturday night? I think it was. So the weather impacted things for like 2 hours,
Right.
and then other things were happening. But anyway, it was a delay, and Fleece was on Stadplatz,
Oh,
and they
yeah.
were supposed to play 7:30 to 9, and they were cool. They were like hanging out with people, and the rain had stopped, but things weren't yet back up and running. And they were like, as long as we can play, we'll play. And at 8:45, they got the green light, dropped their food.
Yep.
Ran up on stage and ripped like 15 minutes of music with no stopping in between. They were like,
Right. Got off.
yeah, we were like, "Bah, bah, bah, bah," like they
Yeah.
just ripped songs, and it was you could see they were elated. And
Crowd was
how
elated.
many bands would have just folded up and been like, you know what?
We're not doing this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're not playing for
real
15
bands.
minutes. They're from
Real bands.
Canada, by the way. Like they could have been like, we got to get in the car.
Yeah.
We got to go back
We got
to
to
the
get
Great White
places.
North.
Yeah, I'm
Yep.
exhausted. No, they were
They
they were giddy to do it, and they played great. And it was like, we've got 15 minutes to make an impression.
There's a spirit of Musikfest.
Yes.
When you think about 400 free performers, that's literally more than one a day for the entire year.
Yeah.
That's right.
We're fitting in more than a year's worth of free performers into
10 days.
11 days.
Yeah, 11 days.
And I think everyone buys into that.
Yep.
It's like, your first camp where you're afraid to go
Right.
away and sleep away, but by the third day you've made new best friends.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I do want to say one thing I learned from kind of doing more in production the last couple of years, especially in multi-day things, is that, and I know you guys are an example of this as well, you have to provide the same high level of production for every stage size.
Every stage.
And once that's understood, like, you're amazed how easy it is. I mean, nothing's easy, but
What a great point.
it's I ran into this working at festival this summer where we were doing community bands, like I'm talking like school choirs
Right.
and jazz bands and all that. We advanced them in the same manner that we
Correct.
would advance a headliner, because they need all the same resources that a
do.
headliner needs. They need your stage, they need your people, they need an audience, you need them.
That's a great point.
So you have to advance. Again, we could do Cash and I could do a whole podcast on
Yes,
just
we
like
could.
insider,
Would love that.
production
Just the
right here.
logistics.
And just like the spirit to enter into it, like, is that everyone who's going to be on your stage needs to be treated the same, because the audiences are probably going to treat them the same.
Correct.
So you need to do it as well. There's no, it's the opener.
Right.
It's the kid bands. It's like, no, you can't operate like that. And
No,
once-
not at all.
Once more regional festivals like wrap their heads around that,
And get that.
the better quality. It costs you nothing to be
raises the bar.
better to these, quote unquote, smaller bands,
Yep.
community bands.
And I think a big thing we have that I'll say is a huge advantage for us that is so special is that at every Plots, along with staff, you have a team of volunteers that are running that stage.
Right on.
Those volunteers own and run that stage. Their pride,
Oh, totally.
their reputation
Oh, yeah.
is in that Plots, and they're going to treat every person who comes on that stage
Yep.
like they are a main stage headliner.
100%. How
And
many
that's huge.
41-year volunteers?
Over 10.
Wow.
41 year
41
volunteers.
straight years they volunteered, and it's like 12 people. It's,
Yes.
Yeah, it was super amazing.
Just as old as me.
So I know we need
It's
to.
not that funny. I say that, it's really not that funny.
I know we need to get you back up. Super busy, and obviously weather could be impacting things. But real quick, I wanted to make sure you talk about things like what else ArtsQuest does. So ArtsQuest is the organization that puts on Musikfest. $75 million economic impact.
The festival will have a $77 million economic impact. That was last year. Year round, we have about $136 million economic impact.
This general region, not just you all. Like that's the local businesses.
No money coming into us.
Right.
That's what's put into the
hotels,
community.
restaurants.
That's the hotels, restaurants, exactly.
Yeah.
And
so, I just always want to point at that, of how big a deal it is, and then anything, like you also do Chris Kindle Market and the Levitt stage from
50 free shows a summer,
right.
every Thursday
Can I
to
just
Saturday.
say that the Levitt stage lineup this year blew me away on paper. I unfortunately just
that.
haven't been able to get up for a lot of it.
Yeah.
But so many, and again, being a Philadelphia guy, so many of my Philadelphia community members represented on that stage, and it is separate of Musikfest.
Correct.
Yes.
It is not the same thing. And,
Right.
Exactly
And
right.
that's an interesting thing to explain.
I
to
think
people in
every
Philadelphia.
Saturday
Yeah.
post Musikfest is an absolute headliner in and of themselves. So keep an eye on that stage if you're missing out on Musikfest, or if you're gonna have post Musikfest depression.
We start Thursday after Musikfest.
There's
at
ways
11.
to kind of cure that, but
You bring them down slowly.
there's Chris Kindle Market, there's
Yep.
Oktoberfest.
We have 11 festivals. We do 5,000 classes, camps, and concerts a year.
There's the Banana Factory.
50% of that is free to the public.
Yep.
And your standard ticketing calendar throughout the year upstairs in the big room.
In the Musikfest Cafe, about
Yeah.
110 shows a year. Your average ticket there is $45.
Phil dragged me to my first show there. It's actually
was
kind of
Neko-
how we became friends.
Oh,
Totally.
nice.
Was he knew I was a big Neko Case fan, so he
Oh,
said, "Hey, I
wow.
bought tickets for Neko Case," and we went up, and we were still in like
Post-COVID,
pandemic
Right.
adjacent thing, and it was just wonderful to get up and see the big glass backdrop
Right.
with the lit up steel stacks,
Yep.
and I was just like, how have I never been here?
You know, there is this problem with Lansdale and below. Like that's our
The
line.
pipeline between Philadelphia and
Yes.
Bethlehem and the Lehigh Valley for music, I make the same complaint for us in Asbury Park as well. There's
I love
amazing
Asbury Park.
things going on
Yep.
in all these
Yep.
communities, and we're all an hour and a half away from each other.
Right.
We should be all up in each other's business
Yeah.
so much more than we
We
are.
should, especially in New Jersey, when you start out any conversation with what exit do you live off of? Like you're not like you don't mind driving, so just keep driving.
Yeah,
and,
just
and
keep
we're all
going.
right here.
Yeah. And one last thing, I know you don't always like doing this, but I always like to do it, is you're such a icon and an inspiration for young women, young LGBT community members. Like this, it's such a wonderful kind of just example you're setting, and glass ceilings you're breaking through. Like I just think you're a wonderful kind of just beacon for people to kind of aspire to be. So
Well, I appreciate that, Phil, but I will tell you a couple things. One, my favorite word you said in there was young, so thank you. Two,
It's not funny.
no, yeah, that's right. I
Still
forgot.
not.
I'm not supposed to laugh at
Two,
that. So wait, it's Highmark Community. No.
Two, I will tell you, when you break glass ceilings, you do get cut.
I'm sure,
And that's
I'm
the
sure.
thing that you have to remember. But I'll tell you this, the staff, the volunteers, the sponsors, people like you guys, this is what I am standing on the shoulders of giants, just looking ahead and saying, how can I bring anyone else along? It's a beautiful community, and it's a beautiful festival, and I can't thank you all enough for what you do and helping to support that. You two are an example, and never forget that.
And well, thank you, because early on, I was like, do you mind if we do this? And you're like, this is the community festival. You easily could have said, no, do it some other time of year, or before it starts or after. I mean, easily that could happen. You don't ever do it, and that sets a tone for the rest of that organization. So thank you for all you do and for what you are to the community and beyond.
And
No,
thank you for what
absolutely.
you're doing and providing the megaphone for these artists and for your next favorite band.
This is a sought after gig for Philadelphia artists. I don't know if you realize how much that is. The community that I truck in and the people that I speak to all throughout the year, either they come on the show and I interview them, or we're at shows talking. Musikfest, when the lead up comes to when you guys open up the gates and let everyone submit, and then there's the time when everyone's waiting to see if they made it. Like this, it gets talked about. Like you are a sought after gig for so many Philadelphia artists.
We need John plots, and then it's
John
all Philly
plots.
artists.
We do.
Be careful with John though, because remember, it's a term that belongs to a certain community, so
Sure.
we can't just be using it.
No, right, that's what
You
I
mean
mean.
like John Jawn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally Jean Plot.
Jean Plot.
Absolutely.
And that's just all Philly artists the whole time.
Yeah.
But let's get you off to the show. Dan,
Yes.
stick around so that we can talk about you and your show and promote all of that. But I want to make sure that we're already over time. So
We're good.
Always.
The mayor's office is going to come calling out after me.
She
been
knows
great.
where it is.
But thank you so much, Kassie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kassie.
Thank you for all you do with the podcast. Thank you for all you
It's
do.
great to meet you.
Great to meet you, and thank you to Godfrey Daniels. I mean, this Godfrey Daniels existed before Musikfest started.
That's true. It's 48
Just like-
years, but
just
not
like the
not a
Bach
ton.
Choir.
But it is. Yeah.
One of the reasons Musikfest was started as Musikfest to try to bring tourists down here, one of the big drivers was we already had a music scene.
Sure.
A live
That's true.
music scene. And Godfrey Daniels has always had this cool, amazing vibe.
100%.
Sitting in here is so cool. The Bach Choir, the Bach Festival.
That's exactly right.
There was a lot already going on. So all we did was try to give it a bullhorn and say, come look at us.
Yeah.
We're pretty damn special.
Come to Bethlehem.
Come to Bethlehem. Now a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
That's right.
really?
Look, I have that right here. Great.
Right?
Yeah.
One of 26 in the country.
That's exactly right. And I think only 3 in the state of Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Bam.
Right?
UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Look at us.
Actually, tomorrow, Craig Larimer's coming on the show.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. And he was kind of part of.
He
you know,
was,
yeah.
absolutely. Charlene Duchess Maurer, Hank Barnett.
Yep.
I mean, they worked for over 20 years to get this done. That is perseverance, and that's the spirit and the personality of Bethlehem. We just don't give up ever. We recreate ourselves.
Yes, we're quite persistent.
The best stuff's always happening in what you call like kind of the flyover areas, the neglected areas.
Yes.
And what I have learned throughout many years, it's something I had to learn as I got older in the music world, was local don't mean less than. Like,
Certainly
I
not.
love
regional doesn't mean less than. It can get used as a trope. Local,
Love
the
that.
little guys, the farm team, the minor
Right.
leagues. But this festival, like I said, it is talked about in bigger markets like Philadelphia, and people come up, and especially post pandemic where we all had the
Right.
appetite for it. We're just like, we got to get up here. It's what finally got me up here. That and knowing Phil.
Oh, that's great. Well, there he is, the ultimate connector.
There we go. He is.
A plague and Phil got you up here. I appreciate that.
I don't know which was worse.
I do.
But you're welcome to stick around as we talk to Dan. But if you need to
scoop.
head out,
Yep.
please, by all means. But hopefully see you around the fest.
Appreciate everything.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Tk you for everything. What a pleasure, Dan.
Thank you,
Hope to
Kassie.
see you again.
Cool. Dan Drago.
Yeah.
25 O'Clock Pod. Practically, over 10 years? Not quite 10 years?
It'll be 10 years in, the first episode came out late October in 2014. So
Got it.
So
we're approaching 10
we're
years.
approaching it. Fall is sort of I treat every fall as like sort of my year, another
anniversary,
year around
yeah,
the sun
right.
type of thing. We started
Over
it.
300 episodes?
Yep. I take a pause usually in August. One, because I like to go, as we say in Philadelphia, down the shore.
Right.
And I like to be able to run around and go to Musikfest. I also like to go see a little band from Vermont called Fish whenever they come through
band
the
from
area.
Vermont.
And so that's that.
You're doing that tomorrow.
I'm unfortunately making one night of Musikfest, and I head up to Bethel tomorrow morning
That's
to
so
go see
cool.
them for a couple
Yeah.
nights.
And the entire podcast dedicated to the Philadelphia music scene. So over 300 episodes, every single one of them, either a musician or something related to the music industry in Philadelphia.
In the early days, I'd say within the first 20 episodes, there are a few outliers because I was still figuring out what the show was about.
Sure.
But that outlier was tied to me. If they weren't from Philly, I either
Right.
knew them because I played with them or I knew them somehow in a music scene.
Yeah.
But once I kind of doubled down, I'm like, okay, this is going to be an all Philly podcast. It's not like I suddenly didn't have enough to work with.
Certainly
you
not.
know.
And you haven't had a ton of people as repeat guests. A few.
I've had a few, yeah.
But it's not like you're like, all right, we got to go back around this,
The number
itinerary.
of repeats I sort of ixnay when they're made to me, via email or when I'm talking with people, and I always feel bad. I feel bad saying no to anybody, but someone's like, oh, I have another record coming out. In my head, I'm like, we had one last year and it was really good and I really enjoyed talking to you about it. But it's like someone else has a record coming out this year that I haven't
never
talked to
been on
yet.
the show, exactly. Yeah.
It's like every year that I do artists that are around like Exponential
Sure.
or Sing Us Home
Yep.
or Sweet Juice or Philly Music Fest.
Right.
And sometimes these festivals will share people from year to year, but I'm always really, really careful. I'm like, well, that person got last year when they were on this fest and they might be on a different fest this year, but I'm like, but I got to go talk to somebody else, and I do my best to do that because trust me, I would love nothing more than to talk to certain artists twice a year.
Sure.
Because they're always doing things and they're always putting out new stuff and there's always just cool stuff to talk about.
Totally.
And maybe I'll have to come up with some other smaller digestible version of
Right.
sort of catching up with people
Yeah.
for 5 or 10 minutes. Except anyone who knows me knows there's no such thing as a 5 or 10 minute episode when it comes to doing what I do.
And I love, there's a little quips you have. We talked about the one where you're like, you're the longest running Philly music podcast, I think.
Yeah.
Kind of like ... I think.
Yeah.
And then the other one you'd always do is like this Goldilocks thing of like if you're old to the show, new to the show, medium to the show. And I just think it's fun and like it's like a thing that
and it's these
you're in 25 o'clock pod, lane.
When I say these 2 or 3 catchphrases, and it's weird when I do these things, like I did not kind of sit down and figure out ahead of time, this is going to be a thing I say.
Right.
I just said it once.
Started to stick.
And then I said it again. And then the next thing you know, it just becomes part of
It's 10 years later, and I keep saying it.
It becomes part of the shtick.
It is. It's the total shtick, and I love it. So the other nice part about it, like you said, there's this Philly scene that kind of maybe wants to come to the Lehigh Valley, maybe wants to go here or there. People should know. I mean, there's a thriving music scene there. So, like, people want to know about these musicians.
Yeah.
And so it's a great way to kind of get that. If you like, it's similar to our show in that it gets to the story behind the musician and the songs they write. So if you like this kind of format, you're going to like Dan's show as much as ours. Like, it's just that kind of thing. It just happens to be the Philly version of it.
Yeah. Well, and I refer to you guys whenever I pitch you to other people. I said, you should check them out. They're like the Lehigh version of me. But it's not to be like, I didn't invent this version. But it's the easiest way to sell it to someone. It's just like, well, you've been on my show. Mm-hmm. And you and I do this all the time.
Absolutely.
We trade people back and forth, or we will send people each other's way.
Yep.
Because I'll be like, I talked to that person last year. You should talk to them now.
Absolutely.
Or I'll have really great conversations with people, and I'll be like, and then you'll mention, like today in your kitchen, you mentioned 2 other artists to me, and I'm just like, you have to have both those people on. I've already talked to them, and they're a blast.
I completely agree, and I love that part. Like, sometimes people are like, aren't you guys technically competing with each other? I'm like, actually, no. If one of us thrives, the other one will be.
There's no money to be made.
No, that's the other.
It's competition. It's like you, me, and Nate Runkle from That's My John.
Yeah.
We just, as we all started to meet each other out in the world,
right.
And again, like people like Bruce Warren would say to us, like, what do y'all like? You guys are actually friends. I'm like, well, we all have kind of a common interest,
right?
So
very similar personalities, yeah.
And again, there's nothing to be like financially like hugely gained from any of this, so it's not like we have to fight in the traditional way.
So I have your site here. I wanted to bring that up so people can check it out.
Well, there we are. There's Ryan.
Right, and so there we go. It's episode 328 is your latest.
That's the most recent one. Ryan was a great cat to talk to. His Red Means Ron are outstanding.
And so basically you can click on any one of these and you'll get to more info about the episode. It is, so while we live stream video and audio, yours is more of the traditional podcast where it's audio.
Yep.
So you can go subscribe to it just about anywhere.
Anywhere you get podcasts, I'm in the feed.
Yeah, and then also obviously there's the ability to sign up for the the monthly newsletter, or not monthly. It's every time an episode's coming out. Or
when
follow.
I remember, sometimes I forget.
Instagram and TikTok. There's all sorts of good stuff.
Check
there.
out that Friends and Neighbors page too. That's the link
I'm gonna pull that up.
Anyone and everyone who's ever been on the show. Am I up? Ooh, good. I'm updated too. Sometimes I forget to update it. Yeah, you can like pop on. It'll take you to people's websites. It'll take you to people's like the landing spot for all these artists that I have on. And I'm just trying to make it really easy for people to be able to like, I heard it on the show, and if you're on a podcast aggregate, you can always click through my show notes. I always give a whole bunch of links in there for people. Oh yeah, that's the new one. I think you're on that. Yeah, I decided to make a page of like people that I knew doing stuff. So there's Nate.
The John Fay one is amazing.
The John Fay podcast, Talking the Diner's outstanding. Rob Tate's Let's Take a Spin. He hasn't done it in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I need to add at least one more onto that. I need to add serious rap-ish on there. John Morrison and oh my gosh, what is the name of the other guy?
Well, that's if it was there, we would know.
It was there. It was no. Oh, give me a second. It's right on the tip of my tongue. Josh Leedy. They do an amazing podcast, not just about hip hop, but about culture, and they are incredibly engaging dudes to listen to. They just did a live event with Reef the Lost Cause at 48 Record Bar in Philadelphia.
Reef's awesome.
Reef's awesome. The guys are awesome. It's all awesome. There's so much going on in Philly. But like we said when Kassie was here, the pipeline of Lehigh Valley to Philadelphia, it needs to be stronger. We
need to make
both sides
germinate that a little bit.
Need to do better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, thank you so much for coming on the show, for being a part of this whole opening, and I can't wait to go fest together. But I have a little bit of business to do here.
Yes.
I got to bring on Mike and Shannon Mains.
I got to get the heck out of the way.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring on their song. It's called Around the Corner, and it is actually from our Listen to the Dissonance show. They headlined that show, and this gives you a flavor of what you will see tonight. So take a listen to Around the Corner by Mike and Shannon Mains.
Do you feel like hanging from a cross? Do you feel like your paradise is lost? When you're lying wide awake, counting every mistake, do you hate what you've become?
Now, we're going to lower it in a second. Yeah, go ahead. We can let it play as long as we want.
Would you like to soak your heart in bleach? Scrub it white, tell all the walls clean. When you're staring in the mirror and the old black wolf appears, do you hate what you've become?
Was it
Don't throw it all away. We've all made our mistakes. You never know what's waiting for you. Goodbye to yesterday.
Oh, and do you need the guitar?
Hello to brighter days. You never know what's around the corner.
20 was what I was planning on.
Because our load-in
Do you
is...
feel
Is
like falling on your sword?
To get to that stage is
Gonna paint a white flag above your door.
Yeah, of
Is
course.
heaven snatching out of reach from your knees, you drape your feet? Will you fall down on your sword? Or is the devil standing there?
I might have it.
Don't throw it all away. We've all made our mistakes. You never know what's waiting for you. Oh, goodbye to yesterday. Hello to brighter days. You never know what's around the corner. Around the corner. Around the corner. You never know what's around the corner.
All right, Tom.
So, amazing song. I love that moment where you like snap back because like you're trying to probably make sure you're not blowing the mic out,
You know it.
but you're also, I think this happens to you when you sing sometimes where you just kind of get overtaken by the music, and I love it. It's kind of this like, there are a couple musicians who have done that in the years, like you know Elvis and people like that, where it's just like you can just see that they're like just getting overtaken, and I love those moments because it's like, oh, he's going there.
You're just not compared to Elvis.
Elvis isn't dead. I'm Elvis reincarnated.
Elvis is everywhere.
That's a great song. So anyway, thank you so much, Mike Shannon Mains. Welcome to the show.
Good to be here.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, so again, even thank you for that too. Like, I also wanted to take a moment to kind of promote that show, Listen to the Dissonance, your participation in it. And I've been telling people, like, the interview that we did right before your show at Ardmore Music Hall is really what spawned that entire concept. It was watching, well, first, listening to you tell these powerful stories, and then going on stage and sharing that as well as playing the music that connects to it, and being so open, honest, and vulnerable, and watching people in the audience. I share this all the time. Like, I was standing there and just watching people, like, noticeably exhale, maybe for the first time in a while. And then they come up to you at the merch table afterwards just thanking you for being open about that, and they didn't feel as alone. That was where Listen to the Dissonance came from, was that day, that October day, where we talked first and then watched that happen at the show. The whole concept came out of that. And so it's really, the inspiration behind it was you.
I think the key thing that you had mentioned was that they came to the merch table, right?
Yes.
And they spent money, which is why. that's why
I do love that part too. But listen, all joking aside, they do need to do that. We do talk about that a lot too, where musicians that's an extremely powerful revenue source. And if people are liking what they hear, that's the way they have to do it. It's not about the streams. It's not about digital downloads. It's not about anything. It's buy tickets to shows and buy merch direct from the artist.
Yeah, and I mean, those stories, I appreciate that you had the vantage point to see folks having that experience during the show. Sometimes I do, and then and other times, especially when you're the opening artist,
right?
You get blinded by these lights, and it's such a delicate balance. We've been talking about this recently, where I don't want to be so lit up that I can't see the audience,
right?
And then I asked the lighting guy a couple of nights ago, don't light us up, don't give us any kind of front lighting, and then I felt like I was creeping people out by staring in their eyes.
But then we can also like see what everyone is doing and think, like that person is clearly not enjoying this, and I can't look away from them.
Yeah, they just got something sent to their house from Amazon.
Yeah,
we watched one person play Candy Crush.
Yeah. So, but knowing that you were seeing them have that experience is rewarding, because I mean, sure, it would be great to be as big as Noah Kahan or Taylor Swift or whatever, and God bless both of those artists. I think for me, I never got into music for the money. I never got into it for the fame. I don't think there's anything wrong with money. I don't think there's anything wrong with fame. I'll take the money. I don't know that I really am super interested in fame. I want to be successful enough to sell out theaters, but still go to a coffee shop before the show and have no one give a shit about who I am. That's kind of like the dream for me. But all that to say, just knowing that our songs, our music, our stories, and what we're trying to do is making people feel less alone. Is always going to be a feather in my cap, and normalizing mental health, normalizing addiction.
Absolutely.
Something that my spiritual director says to me a lot is, you can't heal it if you don't feel it. I think so many of the questions or the struggles that people kind of bury because they're too afraid to address them are kind of these weeds that eventually start to pop back up in the garden of their hearts. And when they do, it's typically way worse than if they would have been in an environment where they felt safe enough to talk about what they were struggling with.
So people who haven't maybe have the full story of what we're talking about, we just encourage you. There's not enough time today to go into everything. Plus, they have a show to perform. So go and watch the interview or listen. It's out there as a podcast as well with Mike. It's from last October. But in the shorter term, I think the songs that you play, it's not exactly a secret. Like, it's in there, in the lyrics, talking about things like, that you feel unclean or this other stuff. And some of it's, what I love too is, we've talked about this, is you've got these lyrics that are about these very, very heavy issues, but it's set to like a dancey pop rhythm, and it's really funny because you see people bebopping along and like, I don't think you know what the song's about. But if you do pay attention, it's pretty clear. Like it's not like, and so for you, it's probably been a process to work through therapeutically to get some of that out there.
Without a doubt. And I love the Tom Waits quote. I love beautiful melodies telling me terrible things.
Yes, that's exactly perfect. Yeah.
I can't add anything to that. He nailed it.
So true. But Shannon, I had a question for you. Like, as some of these songs were being written, and as maybe the reality of some of the motivation or inspiration behind it was coming out, has any of them become more difficult for you to now be, interested in playing or, excited to play?
No, I mean, for me, I think the most important thing is Mike being true to himself, to the art, and authentic to the lyrics, because I will call him out if anything feels like bull crap. And he knows that. I've said it before. And so I think for me, like, if I smell anything inauthentic or disingenuine, I say, like, I don't believe that. And I think with Mike being as true and honest as he has been, that is obviously reflected in the songs and in the music, but I think also people connect to that. And
so for you want it to be even more raw and genuine.
Yeah, I mean, and if it's difficult, I disassociate.
Write a pretty melody. For the keys. Yeah, absolutely. So we roll it back. I guess let's just tell the quick story. both from Michigan, right? But you don't know, like, remind me again, like, you go to Texas before you actually start connecting. Did you know each other beforehand, before you left?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I remember, too, it was kind of like you had a crush on her, but she was...
Yeah. So we played in a band together before the Branches in Michigan, and we were just really good friends. And I was in a relationship, she was in a relationship. We were just really, really close, good friends. And then I showed her a few songs before I moved to Texas. She played one show with me. And again, even at that time, I wouldn't even allow myself. I was like, Shannon is my best friend. I wouldn't allow myself to have those.
To go there emotionally, yeah.
And then I got to Texas, started sending songs back and forth. All the cool music I like, I know about it because she would send me these CDs. Yes, there were still CDs in those days. Mixtape, like, Sharpieing all the different names of the bands and the songs on there, and then we just decided to go all in and start the band together. And it was around that same time that I told her I was in love with her, and she was like, "Oh, okay, man.
Thanks."
Yeah, exactly.
Not the response I was going for, but
yeah.
I think it. So last night you told the story behind the song Briggs.
Yeah.
But didn't necessarily. Spoiler alert! It's about Shannon because it's your middle name.
That's good job.
Yeah, right. But so yeah, that's a love song to your wife.
Absolutely. Yeah. And ironically, it's our biggest song because back to Shannon's earlier point, like Briggs doesn't follow like conventional pop rules or structure.
Yep.
I showed our record label, they didn't like it. My producer at the time was like, I like it. It doesn't make sense. It's not a proper pop song.
There's something wrong with that. I probably but like. First time I heard it, I thought it was amazing. So, like, there's something wrong with the industry if that's people who make those decisions first response, because they're not, they don't have the ear for it.
Exactly.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, and that song was pretty old by the time you showed it to our label and our producer. Like, you hadn't just written it. It was 3 or 4 years old.
And I had shelved it because I was like, I don't know if there's anything to this one. And then typically, as it always goes, Shannon will go, I think you should play this song for the label. You should play this song for our producer. And they're always like, oh, dang. And Nathan, our producer, liked it. But again, he was like, I don't hear it as a single. And he's our producer, so I'm kind of placing my trust in him. And he's still probably one of my closest collaborators to this day. We put the album out. The songs that the label wanted to bet on didn't work. Right. And I said, you know what, to hell with this. We're going to put out a deluxe edition, and this is going to be a single. And I don't care if it works or not. Right. Because the realization that I had is ultimately we're the ones that have to go out and, like, tour and lose sleep and be out on the road, like, and play sometimes for 90 minutes a night. I want those 90 minutes to be full of songs that I believe in. So ultimately, I don't give a shit if it's commercial or not. I just want to feel good while I'm singing it. And so we gave it to the label. It was like, this is a single. We're not asking for your permission. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. This is the damn single. Right. And then we landed like this really big playlist. I think it's called Alt Control or something on Apple, and it just kind of took on a life of its own, which is a really great lesson.
It's an amazing song. You're going to play that tonight acoustic?
Absolutely.
So that's the one thing we wanted to talk about here. So, like, yesterday was a full band, 5-piece rock setup. Tonight is the two of you, more acoustic, keyboard, acoustic guitars, and just the raw, unfiltered, art of the music and the performing of it. Probably very close to when it was first written, I would guess. Is like that's probably how you were knocking it out, is right on an acoustic and on keyboards.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the cool part I always like about shows like this, is because you're going to get that window into more of those early stages of the versioning of these songs. Probably a good time maybe to stop here. You said you might be able to play something, because I know we got to get you off to the stages, but before we get to that, you were going to play "Losing My Head," which was the first single off of your current album, right? Was it the first single or no?
It was the last kind of single. I really wanted it to be a single. It was supposed to be, and our label didn't want it to be a single. I'll leave it there.
Well, again, wrong again, label. This song is amazing. So I'm going to step out of the screen, just so that we have just you out there, and enjoy. Losing my head. If you want to, this is again one of those ones that's very clearly out there as talking about mental health struggles and that kind of stuff. So any other kind of intro you want to give, or what have you. But ladies and gentlemen, Mike Mains.
Thank you.
I'm gonna step out too.
And then there was one. So afraid to die, keep waking up at night. Tried calling heaven, but the line is always busy. What is the frequency? Kenny, will you tell me? I'm feeling dizzy, my brain needs a shower. These twisted thoughts are the ones I keep from my Christian friends. They'd all say my poison faith is dead. Feels like I'm losing my head again. Feels like I'm losing my head again. So tell me, Jesus Christ, is there an afterlife? Does all the money I make paint the streets gold? Does being rich and white help me qualify for your kingdom while I murder my brother? These crooked thoughts are the ones I keep from my religious friends. Is it really good news if nearly everybody burns in the end? Feels like I'm losing my head again. Feels like I'm losing my head again. Will cut me open wide, reach inside, kill the beast that feeds on my peace, crucify my dirty mind, strike a match, burn the trash in the empire. Feels like I'm losing my head again. Feels like I'm losing my head again. Feels like I'm losing my head again. Feels like I'm losing my head again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was so terrific.
That was better than last night.
So amazing video too. So like, I really enjoyed that. I mean, it's like got
the music,
the music video for that song is like, we played it yesterday because I wanted to show like more of the produced full 5-piece sound yesterday, and a little bit more of the kind of the duo side of things. I started calling you a front duo. I thought that was kind of a fun way to refer to it. But that's why we played something more acoustic and had you play this today. So, but the video's super cool. Like that was tell me about that process.
So, man, the gentleman I shot that video with is a guy named Matthew Pimentel from, he's in Detroit, Michigan now, but I've known him since he was 15 or 16 years old.
Just a baby.
Just a baby coming out to the early Branches shows. And he's got footage of us and has been compiling it now for probably 13 years.
Wow.
From the very, very early days of the band. And there's
so the Branches documentary is going to have
exactly.
some great content.
Yeah. And there's no videographer that I trust or Shannon trusts more.
Yeah.
He has such
and
a
it's
keen
such
eye.
high quality. I mean, like the ability to get you to the editing is incredible. It's like insane. it's done so well, you probably don't realize how impressive it is. Like, it's one of those things where it's just like, wow, we're standing in the exact same position, completely different places, and I mean, he's obviously very talented.
He really pushes me too, because I in another life I would have tried my hand at acting.
Yes.
So it's fun to work with him, and
Yeah.
I feel like I can kind of scratch that.
You can see that in there. There's definitely some performance going on there.
It's fun.
It's super fun. But yeah, one thing I thought I wanted to bring up is when I was listening to the songs last night, I do really enjoy the songs where Shannon sings as well.
Yeah.
And I think when I was listening to Lonely in particular, but then I started to think through some of the other songs, I was like, man, I wonder if, and forgive me if this is like an insane thought, but I know that you can transpose songs into other styles. That song in particular, but other ones I started to think about. I'm like, could you do a like more the bluegrass style performance of around one mic, just the two of you, and move some of those songs into more of a bluegrass sound? I was like, I think that would work.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, it was just something I kind of wanted to throw out there and just get your take on it in the moment.
I like the way you think, Phil.
I deliberately didn't bring it up until this moment because I wanted it to be just a total, but I just thought I thought I could hear it that night. And then there were other songs too where you could really start to go down that like, Johnny Cash and June Carter Cash kind of sound of, probably maybe not bluegrass, but like that kind of a thing of these two people around one mic playing music.
I mean, I think that like Mike and I both have those roots of like that's music that we genuinely love.
Sure.
So I think it makes sense that would come out.
Yeah.
Maybe like not that's not like the present it's wrapped in.
Right.
But it could have that alternative present.
Right. And then I started to think about like it's hard to do that, get around the mic with a keyboard. But then I was just like,
it's very limited.
Yeah, you could get creative, or is there another instrument that translates to? But anyway, now
guitar.
I'm that might blow the vibe, but no, that's terrific.
I
But
backed us into a corner with a band name. The current band name is way better than the. We were originally going to be called We His Branches, which is just, I want to barf when I say it out loud. So attaching my name to it is there's a blessing and a curse there. Like I'm probably at some point next year going to put out a solo record, and that's cool. But I think visually for folks, it's like it's Mike Mains the Branches, but there's this really beautiful woman singing with you. But it's branches and it's plural.
But we talked about like how even on Memory and Fix, our most recent record, with me singing a little bit more, our branding is just Mike. So we've had people ask like, who is that singing? That's clearly not a like man.
Yeah, she sang When the Lights Go Out, which is a.
That's right. Yeah.
Entirely her, and people are like, "Who the hell is that?"
Which we don't think about because we're like, "Well, duh, it's us." But
people don't know.
Yeah, like you're just coming into like listening to us. It's like, well, there's Mike, and then who's this random person?
Who's this rando?
One thought was
you could switch it to Mains and the Branches. Like you could just.
Ooh.
It doesn't have quite the ring.
She's got this vision for like a different band. I won't say the name publicly because I think it's cool and I don't want anybody to.
No, yeah, right.
But
keep the lid on that. With all these, we've got at least 3 people listening right now.
Yeah, I think if we ever went in that direction, that would be a cool way to try to lean more into that alt country duo thing, which I would really love to do.
Yeah.
But I would also, if we were to go in that direction, I really do. I love what you're saying, which is like I feel like I want to hear more Shannon, which is how I feel too.
Yeah.
And whether it's weaving more of her into future Branches records, but also doing something where she's the front woman and I can be in a more supportive role. Because I say this, and I mean it genuinely. I always tell people, like, the day that Shannon starts writing her own songs and wanting to do her own thing, I'm out of a day job. But I'll be gladly out of a day job.
Sure.
And I'll open for her any day of the week. Because all the cool bands that I know of, all the good songs of ours that people like she's been my most trusted collaborator and editor and partner. Right. And so I think selfishly, I'm like, yeah, I'm glad Phil's saying all this stuff. we need to put him like.
Well, I think the other part too is like, let's say that were to happen, and you did just kind of like other thing, but you're grabbing from this catalog and morphing it into now what fits that style. I think would be super cool fans of the Branches to bring them over and be like, oh, we're doing like 3 or 4 songs in the set from that catalog, but in this style.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That's just what I was hearing in that moment, where I was just like, oh, that I kind of, my brain went somewhere else entirely. It was really cool.
You have to be our producer.
I was just going to say, he's a great producer.
Anyway, thank you both. What else? So you talked about solo. You have a solo a tour coming up in the fall, and even one of the shows will be here in Bethlehem.
Yeah.
I have your site. I don't know if it's up on that, but I wanted to bring up the site, and if you want to talk about the solo stuff, for sure.
It's going to be really fun. We put out Memory Unfixed last fall, so we're coming up on a year of our most recent album, and I just want to. I feel like I'm.
It is here. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
We've got another album, another Branches record that's going to be coming out probably early next year.
Oh, sweet.
And I'm really proud of that. And then, I've been writing a lot of songs as well that don't feel like Branches songs. And so I'll probably be testing some of those songs out on this tour, as well as recontextualizing and reinterpreting a lot of our old, the back catalog as well, which will be fun. And there is... there's something I really like about there's, when it's you and an acoustic and Shannon and, just a couple of musicians or sometimes, and when it's just me acoustic, it feels like I'm having a conversation with an audience more than being really loud and playing at them and literally ruining their hearing. I wish to God I could just make it so that every venue had to hand out earplugs.
Sure, right.
I understand that it's not rock and roll, but you can't hear rock and roll if you're deaf.
True.
But so I really
that should be a T-shirt.
I do really like more of the back and forth and sort of the storyteller aspect of acoustic. So I'm excited to try that this fall.
Yeah. So speaking of T-shirts, we also have up here the merch, like we talked about before, buying straight from the artist. The merch game is extremely strong in the Branches. Look at these vinyls. I have one of these, the really special ones. I have Calm Down, Everything is Fine, but those, the art is amazing. The actual vinyl is amazing. The T-shirts are super cool. So really good stuff here as well. And then obviously other stuff to check in on, but definitely you're also a great follow, very funny on Instagram. Like there's
You're funny.
A lot of shenanigans. So it's Mike Mains Music is the social handles. And so give a follow there. Definitely go see them live either tonight if you can see it, or anything that's coming up soon. Do not miss Mike Mains and the Branches if you can see it. Mike Shannon, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Musikfest.
Absolutely, yeah. And we will be down at the stage tonight. One last time, let's put that up on the screen here. 6:30 tonight on Main Street.
Thank you. We didn't know what time we played. We knew that.
Yes. So anybody, let's close things out with our It's All Over Now by Blair Crimmins and the Hookers.
All right, Phil, let's say goodbye to everybody.
No, I feel bad because I didn't expect it. First of all, it was a different day. And then go back to how about the third Friday? I don't want to. So this was supposed to be Dan. Yeah, nor am I going to be sorry about it. But anyway.